Welcome to Eden Equips, the podcast that shares real stories, practical tools to help parents, carers, educators feel equipped in the journey of raising and supporting neurodivergent children and young people. So whether you are sitting down, chilling out with a coffee or tea, you're in the car, you've got a very rare quiet moment, or you're squeezing this in between lots of other things you're doing, I'm really glad you're here and really glad you are listening. And I'm also delighted that we have Eileen with us today, the founder and director of We Are Waymaker. Eileen has over 15 years experience working with, supporting children, families in the public sector, and then in 2018 stepping into the private sector and created Waymaker, which is a non-profit organisation. A trained play therapist, believes deeply that children should have access to the service they deserve, which is such an important thing. And Waymaker offers play therapy. It's a therapeutic approach following young people through their lives, which I absolutely love. Eileen, I'm really delighted you're here with us. Thank you. And thanks for making the trek to come up to us today and have this conversation. And I'm really excited to hear more about Waymaker and the heart behind it. I know it's always a bit funny, isn't it, listening to someone read out information about you? Like, you're like, okay.
Is that me? Yes.
Yeah. And I think also there's always a part that you have to be like, yeah, like, there's lots of incredible experience and stuff there. And I'm sure even listening to that, like things flashing up in your head in terms of that journey to get to where you guys are now as well. So I've thrown in there Waymaker a lot. People be like, okay, what is that? What's going on there? I think that's a good place to start. What is that? What is Waymaker? What's the heart behind it? And like, what are you providing? Tell us a wee bit about it, Eileen.
We are a social enterprise and we're based in Ballymena. We do services all over County Antrim and beyond. Children do travel quite a bit to come to us.
Okay.
We do a range of therapeutic services, and I suppose we've got a holistic lens.
Yeah, you guys do.
in everything that we do. We started off doing play therapy. That has evolved. We'll maybe chat a bit about that as we go through.
Yeah.
But really, we find a lot of, when children come to us in our referrals, we get a lot of information about children. We always hear the problems. Of course, we always want to know the good parts because there are always lots.
Yeah.
But we mainly hear all of the problems. But with that means that we have such a good grasp on the landscape of actually what's happening for our children out there right now.
Yeah.
So we provide play therapy. We have reflex integration. We have sensory support. And I suppose it's just developed because we're trying to meet the need. And from the very beginning, we only take children on for play therapy if they're the exact right fit.
Okay.
And it's the exact right time for them to do that. Because you know, it is a deep process, and when we get into that deep process, we want to make sure children, I would say, they complete their full circle, that they don't, you know, have a few sessions, realise this isn't the right time or whatever. And for that, we have very little dropout.
Yeah, great.
But along that way, we've thought, look, this isn't quite the right fit. You need this. And we've looked long and hard to figure out where is the right fit. Sometimes we don't always find it, which is why we've sort of developed our services
other practices too,
as we go along. But we ensure that all of our therapists are appropriately trained, have
got a great team,
you know, the postgrads that they need to have for play therapy, and all of those things. And it really is just such a crazy journey of actually fun to get to sit with these children, to help them find who are they in the midst of maybe what's been really tricky for them. Parents, I mean, it's really hard for parents and children out there right now. And if you have a child that's struggling, it can be really, I know myself, my daughter's now just about to turn 19. But my experience, I suppose, and probably why I got into Waymaker in the first place was my journey of trying to help her in her lifetime, which really tracked back, I suppose, to her birth. And starting Waymaker in 2018 as a private business. Very quickly, I realised the gap in our systems. Very quickly. And thought, I worked strategically for 15 years and thought, why don't I use that and actually open a social enterprise? So that's where the social enterprise part came from.
And there's so many like amazing and interesting things that you just said. Like my brain's like, oof, like there's so much we can grab onto. One of them that really stood out to me was you saying that you're like listening to what young people are going through right now and what you're saying and those challenges they're facing in the landscape. I'm sure that constantly does change as well.
Absolutely.
What are you seeing right now? What's kind of some of those big things?
I think what we're seeing right now, maybe a few years ago, not that many, the average referral we might have got through was a child maybe of about 6, 7,
Okay.
around that age group. And generally, parents think, look, is there something going on here?
Yeah.
Is there not? They were always a wee bit anxious. There was always this here. One thing we do at Waymaker, very much so, is go back up the river. Let's find out what's happened. Why is this child fallen in? There's always a reason. We don't always know for sure, but there's something that we see massively coming through, which has probably been my experience as a parent. But right now we are seeing our average referral could be about 2 or 3. Wow. We're seeing a lot of children not coping, really not coping. Our post-COVID babies coping with separation anxiety, going into nursery. A lot of fear around that time, a lot of fear if you were a parent having a baby. Can my partner come in with me? A lot of things, and our body remembers everything. And for the most part of the work we do at Waymaker, when we go back and ask the question, what was your pregnancy like? And what was your birth experience like? I would say about 98% of the children that come to Waymaker have had a tricky start to life, which wires up certain behaviours, like separation anxiety, anxiety, maybe not sleeping, and that's sort of a lot of the work that we do. I am actually doing research right now. I'm just in the midst of it. Around the use of play therapy for children who have experienced a tricky time in utero or at birth. And because play therapy really accesses a pre-verbal part of the brain where that trauma, which is a horrible word, I don't love using, but I suppose I always look at it like it's an experience. Which sits much better, but it's an experience that the body remembers.
And that whole thing about like your body, holding the score of something, like it really does. And I'm sure so many people don't ever think that when they come in to sessions or they're talking to you, referrals or whatever, that someone's going to be like, tell me about like your birth experience and tell me what this was like from like very early on. And that's so interesting to hear. It's so many young children now, and I think that's so important that we realize that. We've talked about this in some of the other podcasts of like the cohort of our young people are so different. They are presenting very differently. They're growing up in a very different world, and we are seeing so many schools being like, oh, it's ridiculous that so many kids are coming to us without doing X, Y, Z. And you're like, oof, let's just look at how the landscape of our world has also changed and how like what were families going through at that time as well, because as you said, those COVID babies, looking at that, there's massive impact. I love that idea of like play takes you back to a pre-verbal stage of your life, and the importance of play. That is something that you hear a lot. Like it's a good headline grab, isn't it? Like play, the importance of all of those things. What is it? Like what is play therapy? What actually am I accessing when I do that? And is play important? Like the big questions.
That's 2 of my favourite questions.
Okay, good. Yeah, excellent.
So I'll start with play therapy.
What is it?
Chatting about that first. So play therapy is a specialist intervention. It is a form of psychotherapy. So when we work with children, we are actually working with them in their unconscious. It's a lovely intervention. I'm trained in an integrative holistic model, which works on the premise that a child actually knows what they need to do when they come into the room. So layer by layer, like an onion, we are getting to the core.
Okay.
So it means that we're not actually pulling up stuff that a child's not ready to deal with or to cope with. There's very little talking done. Parents will quite often say to me, so will you just talk to them about that? Will you just, they can't go to school today, can you just talk to them about that? And actually, that's a symptom we go back into the roots. So when a child has a space to process, it's therapeutic play. So it's not like me sitting down with a child and playing with them, like I might at my home.
Right.
This is a different space. It's
Yes.
therapeutic play is very different. And they actually use the toys, the sand trays, the clay, the creative arts, all of the things that's in the room are the tools that children use to tell their story. Their bodies have an untold story.
Wow.
Whether their brain remembers that or not,
Yeah.
there's a story there that needs to be told. And so they use the tools to do that.
And you see all of that then coming out in terms of, like, for example, if you have a young person who's incredibly anxious about leaving their key caregiver and that anxiety separation, you start to see that kind of be portrayed then in play. Is that in what you're saying in your sessions?
Yeah.
So good.
And we can see things, for example, maybe a child who's been, maybe there's been a death in the family. Children will play that out. They might bury things in the sand over and over until their body processes that.
What that is.
We also would see, if we're thinking about the birth piece, I never actually see a child playing that out in the room, but that just looks like a lot of really messy early sensory play. So it could be your 7-year-old going back and playing with Play-Doh, colouring in with crayons, going back into all of the slime, all of that
Early
lovely
stage
stuff.
yeah.
Yes.
I love that so much. And I think like even as you're just talking, I'm like, I want all young people to be able to access this. Like how different would our landscape look of, and something I know you're very passionate about, of like our mental health with young people be if they were given access to this, to be able to understand so much of themselves. I think so many therapeutic approaches, people think nearly like what we're doing in terms of like you sit down in front of somebody and you say, tell me how that feels for you. And we know for so many young people that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the services you guys provide. It's an alternative approach. Within that, Eileen, I wonder, do you see a lot of do you support a lot of neurodivergent individuals?
We absolutely do, yeah. And I suppose we are interested in what the symptoms are and then what can we do with the roots. And actually, I'm not sure of the exact stats, but a lot of neurodivergent children have had quite a tricky entry into the world. I think it's quite a substantial if you start to look at that. And with that, you know, children can have all sorts of things happen. There could be a pet at home who maybe something's happened to. There can be just things in families that go on. And for neurodivergent children, sometimes language is really difficult. How do I feel? Sometimes bodies and brains don't talk to each other.
Yeah.
And actually, how can I verbalise how I'm feeling?
Yeah.
So it's a lovely space for them to
Really
actually
good.
process through some of that stuff. There can be a lot of stuff around, as you know, with children who maybe have to process their identity. Why am I different than others? Why does it always feel like me? Like life can be a bit tougher.
It can be, especially the world's not that accepting at times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And to be able to process that, actually.
Yeah, it's huge, actually. It's a big emotional piece, isn't it?
Yeah, this feels tough, but actually, what's my identity? And then sometimes when we know neurodivergent children are so clever and, you know, have so many facts, they know so many things, but that's very one side of the brain.
Yeah.
And so sometimes play therapy can come in and help with the other piece
and
bring in a bit of creativity,
Love that.
which can, you know, when the two sides of the brain
Yeah.
are going between each other, the emotions go down. And that can be a lovely piece of work as well.
Beautiful.
But you know, once a child has been through, I always see it like a circle. And the first piece of the circle, we're going down after some of the harder things. And the next piece of the circle, we're coming up and out the other side. Who am I in the world? What is my identity? And it's such a lovely piece when children start to grasp, this is who I am.
I'm sure that's incredible to see, like to do as a process. Like
It's an honour. It's an absolute honour.
Yeah.
I'll never, no two children are the same ever.
Yeah.
And I will never tire of the wonder that comes. And sometimes even myself, however many years later, I think, gosh, how does this actually work?
Yeah.
Because I think as adults, we always want to understand things with our cognitive brain.
Oh my gosh, we want the answer. We want the reason.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
actually we're way more complex than that, and most of what we do comes from our unconscious. So creative pieces are so important.
So important to bringing all of that stuff out.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah,
I'm like envisioning what a wee session is like, even looking like. I'm like, get me in that room, get me a sound track. Like when I've done that before in terms of like therapeutic training myself, and obviously this happens, doesn't it? When you're training in that way, you have to experience it as well.
Yes.
And I remember doing sound track and being like, I was sat there with the figurines in the way that it happened, and I was like, oh my goodness, where did that come from? Like, I was so determined because the person I am, like, I am a really emotional person. I feel things really deeply. I love that part of me. But I also am very good at holding control and like staying in control of a lot of those things. And I was sat there being like, no, I didn't mean to do this. Like I remember just being like, oh, I didn't really want to talk about that today. But like, that's so interesting, isn't it? That it's all from so much is from the subconscious of our very beings, of who we are, and giving our young people an opportunity to experience that. So if I'm a parent or carer listening to this and I'm like, this sounds unreal. Like, I didn't even know there were services like that out there. How do I access you? Like, and so you were saying like, oh, we've got a lot of 2 and 3 year olds. Like what if I'm a parent who's got a 7-year-old ADHD child or young person, and I'm like, that sounds like that would really suit them, connecting, they're helping them communicate brain and body. Or if I have an autistic child who has alexithymia and struggles to connect emotions and words, can I access your service? How do I access your service? Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do I do, basically?
So, our website is wearewaymaker.com.
Yes, it's a great website.
And we have hopefully lots of places on there that you can just
really
press
good
to connect.
Yes, yeah.
Under the play therapy part, we actually have a referral form.
Okay.
And it's quite a lengthy referral form, which we've gone back and forward with over the years.
Right.
But actually, we're looking for all the clues, so that by the point we get to speak to a parent, we offer a free, no obligation consultation, because we need to make sure we are the right fit.
Right service, yeah.
We won't let any child sit on our waiting list unless we know we're the right fit. At the point when they come to us, if we feel, look, this isn't really the right thing, we will recommend someone else, and we are very fussy around who we do recommend, but there are lots of people out there doing so many amazing things. But you can just access us on there.
Great.
We'll get back to you with a free consultation.
Super.
And actually what we do in that is take parents up the river to help them understand, these are some of the pieces. This is why your child's doing this. They might be acting like this in school and acting like this at home. You might be the punch bag, but here's why. And when you understand the why, it's actually easier to cope with in the meantime as a parent until you get some help.
Yeah.
And, I suppose we all get into this field for reasons of our own, and all of those things. Why do we get to where we get to? But I think it's having we have such a deep empathy for parents coming through. I know personally, I could talk about my journey and my child. I know how it feels to be a parent with a child who really struggles and nobody else really understands, and how lonely that can feel to pursue where to go to. So yeah, we just help parents. We meet them exactly where they are, with their person, with their young person, exactly where they are, and just take them on a journey.
That's so good. Like, I think just even in terms of that really empathetic, caring approach, isn't it? Like, I think for so many parents and carers, just to meet someone who's like, I really care. Like, I really want to journey this with you. And as you said, like, it might not be, and I know your heart's the same in terms of like, you're like, I can't give you, here's the magic wand, here's the magic thing you say, and it changes your whole environment and everything immediately transforms. But here are the reasons we can look at to really help. And also I think for parents and carers to create empathy within themselves too a little bit, so it's not like a blame culture or anything like that. And then I'm even thinking like educators listening to this of like, how to, overlapping all of those things then and being like, well, if I can have that approach in my classroom, if I can encourage those things here, if I can look at behaviour as a communication, if I can understand that a young person isn't waking up in the morning and being like, I really want to irritate the adults in my class today, but they're like, my body doesn't feel very safe.
Yeah.
And there's loads of reasons for that. How can you create a sense of safety in a classroom and all of those things? There's so many conversations you could go down. Like, Eileen, I listen to you and I feel hopeful. Like, I do. Like, you've always been that person when I have a conversation, I'm like, oh, like, I feel like I'm at ease and at rest with that, because for so many reasons, this journey can feel so challenging. Like when you're trying to change a space where there's a lot of negativity around and there's a lot of like hopelessness, it feels like at times. But I always like to veer on hope, and it really does fill me with hope listening to you and what you guys are doing. What is your hope for the children of Northern Ireland and young people in Northern Ireland?
Yeah, I hold so much hope because I feel, and if you're a parent or carer and you don't feel hope for your young person right now, for your child, find a professional that has hope, because we'll sit beside you. You know, there's so many professionals will sit beside you in hope until we can pass the baton to you, until you start to see the glimmers of hope come through. As tricky as our bodies are also really good at repairing and creating new neural pathways. There's always improvements, no matter what has been given through medical or whatever. There's always room for anyone to move forward and to have hope. My hope for children in Northern Ireland, I think just that we maybe press, I suppose if I think from a parent's point of view, that we just get to press pause. As a parent myself and someone who's really busy, I'm trying to really think, how do I press pause on life, on the busyness of social media, and all of those things that actually really don't matter, and can I just sit down and play with my child? And I find so many parents really struggle right now to play with their children. And by the way, if that's you, absolutely no shame. If we think about play and we think about animals, for example, if we think about lion cubs in the wild, a lion mum is not going to feel playful when she's hungry or when there's threat.
That's good.
She's going to play playful when everything else is done and we're relaxed. So the atmosphere has to be right. And I think somehow we have also, I think we've made too much out of play. Like made it so complicated. I need to go and buy all of these craft things,
Oh my gosh,
all of these colours, and actually play's about your presence.
And it's about the small things, isn't it? Like, I'm learning that. I'm on such a personal journey with this at the minute. And literally the other morning, we had such a beautiful morning. You know, they have those moments that you're like, that was good. I did well there. You know, like, and like as a little bonus mum, that's a whole other kind of world, isn't it? And like, there was a cardboard box that these very chairs or that table that came in that I haven't taken to the recycling, that's out in the garage, and I had brought it in, and I was like, let's make like what should we make? And it was a house was suggested. We were sitting there cutting things out, sticking things on, and like I, for the first time, I really reflected this in myself. I was like, I feel really present. Like I felt peaceful, and I think I love that aspect of like the lioness of like, I live with a to-do list in my head. And I think at that moment I was like, oh, I didn't think about what I had to do. And play can be so complicated. You must make and create this space. The kitchen around me was a mess. And it got messier because we were creating mess. But so much fun. And these connection moments that I could see and that my work brain did come into. And I'm like, oh, look at what is happening here in their little brain. And look at how those neural pathways are connecting. And here's exploring. And for me to set down aspects of like safety. And I'm like, yeah, let's try this. Okay. Like, but because I can be quite anxious in that and like setting that down. But I love that idea of like not blaming, being kinder to yourself. And that it doesn't have to look like this picture perfect social media. Watch me play. Like it can just be the most beautiful, intimate, simplistic moments and being kinder to yourself in that. I mean, I've loved this. Like I've really learned a lot from this. I could keep talking to you about this forever, but we'll go into our little quick equip to finish. One tool or resource that you love right now.
Is it really shameful to plug my own thing?
Absolutely not. Plug away. Eileen, listen up, guys. Here it comes.
It is so ingrained in me. It's not out just yet, depending when you listen to this. But it's coming out in February 2026. It's called Little Bear. It will be a website called lovelittle.bear.com.
Lovelittle.bear.com.
And it's a range of therapeutic animations for children and lots of videos and tools for parents. It's completely free to access, and it's really, you know, not everybody can access therapy for whatever reason. Sometimes if a child's had a loss, you don't want to access therapy for 6 months at least, if not longer. So what can we do in the meantime? So they're all written in therapeutic metaphor, so that a child can attach to it, but it's not so direct. That it's scary. So yes, that's my favourite tool. I have been working on it in the depths all summer, and really it's a project I've been working on for about 5 years on and off.
Incredible.
And I'm so excited to share it with the world.
I'm so excited to see it. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, that's my tool.
Little bear. I love that. I'm excited to see that. Yeah, for the world to experience that too. A mindset that helps you.
Growth. Always, I can always better myself, for the children, for my family first and foremost, but actually for the children that I see as a professional. If I am a big advocate of holistic things, looking after me, and also if I need to go to therapy to talk something through, I'm there, because life's hard, and it makes me a better person, and it makes me a better person to sit beside children. So yeah, absolutely growth.
Love that. And advice, one piece of advice.
One piece of advice. There's so many, but if you are a parent out there that's struggling, just know that actually there is hope. That there are lots of amazing people out there in Northern Ireland doing lots of amazing things right now, and who are there to help. And as I kind of said, I suppose earlier, our bodies can rewire. There's never, we never get to an age where that just stops happening.
Which is an incredible thing. I love
so
that.
just hold on to that.
I love that. And listen, I have been filled with hope listening to you today. I'm excited as well, and I think in that of like advice, there's people out there who care. Thank you for being one of those people, Eileen, and thanks for what you're doing. And I hope that today you have been able to find one thing, I'm sure there's many things, that you found that's inspired, helped, or just curious about learning a little bit more about that. I know I definitely am, and it's been really inspirational. Thank you, Eileen. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.